Welcome, everybody, to episode 193 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your host, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson, back with another timeless moment.
Yeah, and I think we should just get straight into the sponsorship component of this episode. We are very proudly brought to you by the Hobby Hangout XL. Go to thehobbyhangout.com.au or just do what I do. Go to Google, search for the Hobby Hangout XL, and that'll take you straight to the OzTix page where you can buy your tickets. They're currently on sale for $29.90. Some of the highlights from the show is 150 plus stalls. The date will be Sunday, the 1st of June, 2025, 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Australian and international guests, exclusive speakers sharing insider knowledge and tips, sports cards, basketball, NFL, MLB, soccer, and more. Massive selection of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And more. Trading zones, trading card game tournaments, giveaways, interactive brand activations, which is something I don't really know how to explain further.
That sounds very
Impressive. Casual play areas. I think what we're seeing here, though, Adam, is a hobby show war.
Ooh.
Where we have different parties trying to out hobby show each other.
Love it.
For the consumers, we just have to sit back, relax, and be entertained. This is wonderful news for all collectors.
Yeah,
in the greatest state and capital city of the world, Melbourne, Australia.
That's right.
All right. Let's get into this week's timeless moment.
Yes, this week's timeless moment where, with all the discussion of hobby shows, today's topic is just that, how do you get ready for a hobby show?
Yep.
I know there are people like myself that have no idea what to do, grab a backpack, some money and go.
Yep.
But there are others in the world that are much more prepared, like yourself.
Well,
so what's the number one thing?
So I actually did a very small amount of prep for this episode, and I broke it down to the 3 C's: cash, comps, and cards. So when I broke it down even further, if you're talking about cash, you need physical cash, a way you can instant transfer somebody. So the most common ways people like is bank transfer or PayPal. And there are different types of instant transfers, like there's, Facebook Pay and Venmo's becoming a bit more popular. But for me, it's just PayPal. I'm old school in that way. When we talk about comps, what that means is you've got a couple of cards that you're happy to trade with people. It's really difficult to get a trade done with somebody if you don't have at least a rough idea of what you're looking to get back for that card. And so people will often do their own comps on a card. But it's also really good for you just to go in there and look, I'm asking for 200 for this. I'm asking for 150 ballpark for this. For this one, I'm looking for $10 on this card, so then people can then work with you a lot quicker and sort of, bang out a deal. Sure. And I think then the third thing is take cards for people to trade with you. I think that sounds like a ridiculous thing, but you might not feel confident enough to do it. You might not feel that you've done it before. You might feel that you're a bit out of your league or whatever, but I would strongly urge everybody, do not go to the Hobby Hangout or any card show for that matter without taking cards. It is the best way to interact with people. And actually, I think...
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It's just my favorite part of the hobby, when you actually look through someone's collection, you've got a card in there, maybe you'll get a trade done with or without some cash on it. It's just a really fun thing to do and to get done. So do not go to the Hobby Hangout without your cards. So that was my 3 things.
Nice. I think it's. I mean, we can dive a little bit more into some of those things.
Absolutely.
I'm very much, if I am prepared for a card show, which is not often. I normally have an idea of something I want.
Yep.
Right. So the big thing, and this is going in because I definitely agree. You've got to be prepared. Have it like if I've got a backpack on and I've got some cards to trade. I've got some water, stay hydrated through the day.
Yep.
The big thing is make sure you've got something like something sugary. I'm looking out for people. Yeah. It's just to make sure you get through the day.
Yeah.
You need an energy hit every now and then. Occasionally, the good shows put on. There's a food truck out there. Yeah. Of course, everyone likes a good smash burger or
some chips,
a drink at the bar, or a coffee or something like that. But make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure you've got some water with you. You're going to be on your feet. Wear comfortable shoes. Wear comfortable clothing. It can get very stuffy in these things. It's got a lot of walking around. There's not many places to sit down. So just be ready. Wear comfortable shoes. Be comfortably attired, I guess, would be my thought.
That's actually, I didn't think about that. You do need to wear comfortable clothes. Not always like you're going to the gym, but you need to wear, because you will be doing a lot of walking. They are quite long shows. That's true.
Yeah.
You will be standing up quite a bit. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you could go into having like hand sanitizer and wipes and things. You're going to be, make sure you got clean hands. You'll be looking at cards. You might be handling cards.
Yep.
There's things like that. There's that element to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a fun day, but it can be very tiring. But go in with a plan would be, if there's a particular card you're looking for, go in with a plan and do your research is where my next step would come from.
Yeah.
And that's where, if I'm not after anything in particular, I don't do a lot of prep. I go, let's see what there is. If something takes my fancy, I agree completely. Have a box of cards or something there so people can flick through. So you've got something to sort of to show off, to trade, to offer.
Yeah.
Even though others might not be interested, you open those discussions.
Yeah.
I
mean,
but yeah,
I've got my list in my phone now, so that's something I don't actively think about anymore. It's just something I sort of almost have with me all the time.
Yep.
And also my list is so short now that I almost don't need a list, but I 100% agree with you. You definitely need to go there with a plan, because otherwise it can be very overwhelming. What is it that I'm looking for? High end, low end, medium? Am I looking for sealed? Am I looking for packs? Because there is just so much stuff there. And I think the other thing too is that with 150 stalls, you are going to have to, you won't be able to look at every single shop. You're going to need to be able to cut it down real quick, you know?
Yep.
Am I looking at this? Am I not looking at this? And yeah, I actually found that even at the last hobby hangout where I had time. It's not that I didn't have time, but I don't believe I looked at every stall in depth. I might have walked past them, maybe even walked past them twice, but did I stop and look at every card they had? Like, yeah, definitely not. And that was probably partly because I was like, I didn't think they had what I was chasing. I had that sort of...
that's a good point. That's a good point. The other part about that, and I would, if you've got the time to do it, especially with your own cards, know what they're worth.
Yeah.
Know what the stuff you've got is valued at as a current thing. So not 3 months ago, not a year ago when you bought it. What is this card currently valued at? So once you enter negotiations, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not know what a card you're looking at is worth, and that's where you get your phone out, you do some comps.
Yeah.
But know what your stuff's worth and what you're prepared to part with it for.
So funny one about that. This is bouncing off some content that Matthew Yuga did. He reported it. Was it the Sydney Hobby Hangout?
Yeah.
They didn't have internet for a while.
Oh, wow.
So it made it very difficult for people
having an idea.
Comps, which is one of the things that people complain about the most, is that people spend half their times on their phones without actually looking at the card. Comps. They're just like, let's just go check comps. So that's an interesting one. And then also too, for payments, I think that's the other reason why I was talking about actually taking some cash, because in the event that someone really wants cash, or in that tragic event where, you know, imagine if we didn't have internet in Melbourne.
The Wi-Fi goes down.
That's not really something that would happen in Melbourne, though. In Sydney, it would happen.
Of course.
Not in
the
Melbourne.
internet's better.
Not in the greatest city in the world.
Much better in Melbourne.
What else do we need to talk about if you're preparing for a card show?
You don't have to make a deal with people, I think is something that I would touch on.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with someone and you're not happy, you don't have to make the deal.
What's the best way in your mind to end a negotiation?
Oh, that's a good question. I would like, look, I think we're going around in circles. Let's just park let's forget this one.
Yeah.
You say thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that could actually engage, like, create an end to the loop. But it's like, if we're going to go around in circles, I'd rather go and look at the rest of the show. Appreciate your time. Be polite. Don't be rude. You don't have to take the deal.
Yeah. No, definitely. I would say most people are...
I would say go both ways, though. Don't pressure somebody else to take a deal.
Yeah.
And don't expect that. You don't have to make the deal, but don't try and force others to take a deal.
Yeah.
Like, be fair and reasonable and negotiate in good faith.
Actually, I do have something to add to the negotiating part. So I think I'm traditionally very hesitant to try and negotiate with people.
Yeah.
But one thing I've definitely noticed the last couple of shows that dealers definitely want to sell. So they're very willing to negotiate with you. So that would be like the first thing I would say. The second thing I'd probably say too is that when you're selling to a dealer, don't expect to get comms.
Hell no.
Because that's how they get their
That's
margin.
how they make
So
their
I think
money. Yeah.
you have to sort of go to the table. Just say you think the comp is X, you have to at least take off 10%, maybe even a little bit more.
Look, I was going to say they've got to make their money.
Yeah,
they've got to pay their fees. They've got to make some money. Like they're businesses, right? At the end of the day, it makes sense to me. Yeah, like people are like, oh, what? They're only paying 80% of comps. You go, well, actually, bloke down the road's paying 60% of comps. So that's not.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. So, and then word does get around in terms of tables, which are the dealers who are paying higher on comps.
Of course.
Yeah. I also feel like, too, that's probably why I enjoy doing trades more. I know it's more difficult to do trades just because of that.
But you're right. There's
I just feel like it takes that sort of the dirty cash element out of like the whole thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. I like it. Yeah, it's interesting wheeling and dealing with people at a trade show.
To summarize this for me, I'm actually just really excited that the Hobby Hangout is not they're probably even intentionally doing it, but the fact that they're trying to match previous hobby shows in Melbourne in terms of size and intensity.
Diversity, there's sneaker, there's going to be other stuff.
But I'm all aboard this. Like, I think this is the best thing. And this is what we talk about with competition within grading companies. It's great for the consumer.
Yeah.
This is so good for the consumer. You know, I'm all aboard this, and I am genuinely excited. I feel like there's not much that really razzes me up these days that much and sort of gets me out of bed. But this is like, I am absolutely hanging out for this. I cannot wait.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a big show, gonna be a big day. I like the idea of going to a card show and just looking around and taking it all in. It's
easy to get there, lots of
fun.
public transport. You'll be able to walk there pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, man.
Thanks for another fantastic timeless moment. And we'll see you in the next one.